Over the last few weeks, Western media has been trying to manufacture your consent in a genocide by portraying Palestinians as savages whose violence can only be explained through their backwardness, whilst Israel, on the other hand, is similar to us, non-violent and only uses violence where necessary. However, this completely ignores the context. Now, I've spoken about this multiple times on my profile. However, something that I want to focus on today is the Israeli state's use of torture against Palestinians. Now, allegations against the State of Israel using torture date back to the 1970s. The Sunday Times in the UK actually ran a long-form piece about the use of Israeli torture. Now, what they describe in their article, which you can find here, is blood-curdling, to say the least. It is disgusting. There is one man who went in healthy, and when he left, he could barely walk, and he spent a considerable amount of time in hospital. He described the use of electroshock, and also one incident where an Israeli soldier whipped him round by his hair until it ripped from his head, and then he was forced to eat it. And there was another incident where his head was smashed against a wall until chunks of the wall came off, and he was forced to eat the paint that had fallen off. It is genuinely abhorrent, and this isn't a new thing either, and Israel has not stopped doing it. In the 1970s, the Sunday Times even debunked Israel's response, denying that they had used torture, and they showed incredibly clearly that whilst all of these accounts may not be verifiable, the State of Israel undeniably, systemically used torture in the 1980s, and to this day, it hasn't stopped. In 2004, for example, this 13-year-old Palestinian child, Mohammed Badwan, was strapped to the front of an Israeli jeep and used as a human shield. A 13-year-old used as a human shield. Seriously, if you think the Palestinians are bad, I beg you to look into the history of Israel and its ethnic cleansing and genocide of the Palestinian people, because it will turn your stomach. The majority of these people were never even convicted of the crimes that they were accused of, and normally confessions were just extracted from people through these extreme methods of torture. And Israel still maintains this system of arbitrary arrest and using a law where it can detain Palestinians for 6 months consecutively for as long as it sees fit. Israel is an incredibly cruel apartheid nation that has been brutalizing the Palestinian people since its inception as a state, and even before it existed as one, just as the Zionist project. Israeli violence extends well beyond torture, and torture is just one smaller part of a massive matrix of control. Even through non-direct violence, the State of Israel is incredibly violent towards Palestinians. Look at the checkpoint system that limits Palestinian freedom of movement. Look at the heavy surveillance that makes life as a Palestinian incredibly difficult. And look more generally to the other apartheid policies that Israel has enacted that prevent Palestinians from living a normal life. And you will see an incredibly violent state that is far more barbarous and evil, if we're trying to judge human beings in that way, than the Palestinians. As Patrick Wolf said about the Nakba, to focus on the watershed is to forget what subtends the event. And if we are simply to focus on what happened on October the 7th, we will never be able to go anywhere because we completely ignore the context of what's causing Palestinians to resist. And this is the extreme violence of the State of Israel that has been ongoing since its inception.